we're really thinking about the audiences that where we feel we can really win. How do we find them and go a little bit deeper? So I think that will be a big pivot for us next year instead of being more broad, that we're going to be more focused, which I think will be great for our team too, because I don't think I'm the only marketing lead that would tell you that teams are feeling still just a lot of burnout. There's always at Square opportunities in every direction we look. I always say that's like the blessing and the curse of the job because it's great. You'll never be bored. I've never been bored a single day that I've been at Square. I don't think anybody on the team has. But it also means that we've got to be really principled about the decisions and the priorities that we choose as a team so that we've got our people focused on the right things and not getting burnt out.
I love that. Can you take us a layer into how you do that? Like, how do you get people more focused, right? How do you help people strike that balance? Like you said, the blessing and the curse of big opportunity, now global market penetration, lots of direction, and here we are, still got to get focused. What's your approach there?
So there's two things for us. So the first one I think will really be around like really honing in on those core audiences for us. And that being like one lens that we look at to be really focused. We're still debating how many segments should that be and what they'll look like. And it's a big, obviously, I'm sure as you can imagine, cross like collaboration with our sales teams, with our product teams to say like, where do we have the best product market fit? Where do we feel we can really win? And let's go deeper into those places. I think the other thing for us is thinking a little bit more about specific local areas and how we can go deeper there as opposed to nationally, especially in newer countries where like we're people have not heard of Square. We've only been in Spain for a couple of months. And so we need to think about how do we win in certain areas and get that organic flywheel going. And then outside of just sort of audiences and locations, we've developed last year for our team, and it took us a long time and it's a little bit crazy, but we actually created a prioritization rubric where we kind of mapped out our priorities and assign like values to different tasks and it's a tool that everyone on the team can use. So it's a little bit cumbersome to use on a daily basis, but in theory, you could, if you had 10 things on your list, you could put all 10, like run them through the rubric and it would spit out like this ladders back to our core priorities, core audiences, and just help you decide what work to do. We see it more as something that we'll use during like the annual planning and quarterly planning cycles, but it literally is a ranking system for us to use as a team. And then also we tell our stakeholders, hey, we've developed this rubric. This is how things get scored in the rubric so that there's full transparency around it. And so that's the other thing that we're doing, which I think we'll continue to like iterate and evolve as we go. But we tried a lot of different stuff over the years to really prevent burnout across the team. And I think one of the things that we find is, marketing, I think at all companies has more stakeholders and more partnerships than any other department, usually in the company. And I think for Square, as we've scaled and grown and we've got now kind of more countries and more products like that like multiplication factors just made it harder and harder for the team to really stay focused. And we always want to say yes. We want to be good partners. And I call them ankle biters, but there's a lot of ankle biters that are just little projects that come along that feels like you want to say yes because it's not going to take that much of your time. But when you do 10 or 20 of those a week, all of a sudden you look at the list of things that you really needed to get done and you realize that you haven't had time or as much time as you needed. Then you start putting in extra hours and then you start to feel burnt out. So I think just trying to kind of help everybody just feel empowered to make their own decisions around what work should bubble up to the top. And obviously people can discuss with their managers. And I think there's a lot of those conversations. Like, do you agree these are the priorities for the week? So I feel like it's like working out, like it's a muscle for us as a team that we just need to keep practicing and getting better and better at.
So that prioritization rubric, that feeds into preventing burnout. Would that would go into supporting not getting burned out because you're using this rubric to support, hey, here's where we're going. Here's where that thing strategically fits into where we're going. Is there anything else that's helpful in terms of preventing burnout at this stage?
I mean, I personally say that I think that everybody needs to define what their boundaries are and what their work and life schedule looks like for them. I mean, I think that's one of the great things. Like, yes, some people you're working from home. So it feels like you never get to walk away from your computer. But I know, like, for me as a working mom, it's been really great. But I do have to take time every now and then to reevaluate what about the way that I'm working is working for me and for my family and what's not. So I relocated during the pandemic to the East Coast. That's been really great because I have a lot of mornings to get work done, but sometimes it means that my days get really long. And when I first got here, I found myself working until 9 o'clock almost every night, which was really like kind of wreaking havoc on my family's life because everybody was waiting for me and then everything just got really late. And so I said, okay, like I have late days and then I have days that I work East Coast hours. On East Coast hour days, if you schedule a meeting with me at 7 o'clock at night, I'm probably not going to be there and I can send a delegate, but just sort of holding the line there. So I know that is really hard for people, but I think everybody works differently and it really does come down to each person saying, this is what works for me. I try to be really transparent about when I'm tweaking or making changes to the way that I work, just so that people know, not that they need to do what I'm doing, but I'll say, hey, over the holidays, usually that's a good time for me to reflect on what's working and what's not working, and what do I want to either carry forward or change going into the next year. And then I'll just share it with the entire team. We have a weekly email. I always share like some personal musings, and I'll say, like, I've thought a lot about my schedule, what's working for me. Here are some changes that I'm making to make my life a little bit more manageable. And usually someone will say, like, thank you for sharing that. It just encourages me to think about what that looks like for me. So I think it really is about personal balance, but people need to say what their boundaries are. And then I always say, like, be unapologetic about it, right? You have to stick to it. You're the only one that can make you yourself walk away from your computer screen.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more great marketing interviews with today's top industry leaders. And thank you to our partners at Salesforce. Salesforce brings marketing and engagement together. Head over to salesforce.com/marketing.